Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you're able to hear me. In the last session, we started talking about data frame. So data frame is going to represent the data in the form of rows and columns you're going to have. Rows and columns will be there. So something like a table, SQL Server table, it is going to show the data. So that is what we have seen in the last session. And if you clearly observe here, there is no header at this point of time. I wanted to provide the header for this table or for this data. So if you wanted to provide the header, then we need to pass header also while creating the data frame. So we have seen how we can create a data frame by using the local object. So the local object here is the list. So I'm taking the list to create a data frame. And if you wanted to provide the header for this particular data frame, then how you're going to provide header for this, we're going to see that. So Spark is a session. Inside the session, we're having a function called create data frame function. And this create data frame function is going to help you to create a data frame. So the next task here I'm having is the more or less same, create a data frame with local object by providing the header. So I'm just taking the same to same. Just provide here. Now I wanted to run this. Display of df. Let's execute and see the result. So here also we are not passing the header. We are not going to get the header. If you're not having the header, then understanding of the data is difficult, right? So I wanted to provide the header. How we are going to provide the header? Let me show you. So in place of this -1, in place of -1, I wanted to say employee number, and in place of -2, e-name. In place of -3, I wanted to say salary. So that is what I wanted to do it. So if that is the case, then we can provide the header inside the list. So within the same create data frame function, we can provide the list here. Okay, so I mean to say the header you can provide. If you say spark.create data frame, you can give the local object or RDD, and here you need to provide the schema. So that means you can provide the schema of the data frame. So that is what I'm just trying to do here. Inside this list, employee number, employee name, and salary. So let me execute. So now in place of numbers, we're having the names of the columns now. We're able to see the column names so that we can understand what data it is. And if we expand this, you can see here, there is nothing is available. I mean to say the data types also is assigned for this data frame. And you can open the Spark UI. Okay, so these are all the jobs are created. And then if you go to SQL/data frame, you can see here, I have the task 2, the description, we are having it right. So here it is getting executed for 6 jobs. It is created by its own, and we'll come across and we'll see that. Let us concentrate more on how we are going to do the data transformations. Now this is one of the way to create a data frame by taking the local object, and we have seen without header we have seen, and with header we have seen. Now the same thing I'm just trying to do with the RDD. Create a data frame with local object by providing a header in a variable. Okay, so same with local object, but this header I wanted to provide in the variable. Just observe, this is a small change that I'm just going to do it here. So instead of keeping here, I'm just going to keep this inside the variable. Columns equals to something like this. And this variable name I can use in place of this. Now, if you execute it, it is going to give the same result. The only thing is, for better readability, I'm just separating these columns and keeping it in separate variable. So this is another way. Okay, so this is the list, right? So the column names I'm just keeping inside the list and I'm calling the a variable name here. Create a data frame with RDD without header. I'm just going to provide, just observe. First, you need to create a local object, then you need to create a RDD. So last time when I created data frame, I used only local object. Now I'm going to use RDD. Let's take a LST equals to 101 Kumar 102 Rama. So like this, I'm just taking few names. Now I wanted to create a RDD. To create a RDD, we came across it, right? So RDD equals to sc dot parallelize and then LST. Now if we say RDD dot collect, you're having the data in the RDD now. And if you see the data type of this, it is going to have a RDD type. So by using RDD also, we can create a data frame. So data frame 1 I'm taking equals to df spark dot create data frame. Inside the data frame, I wanted to pass the RDD and then I need to provide the schema. The schema I'm just going to give here customer ID, customer name, and then display of df1. Just observe here. This is without header, right? So we don't need to provide the header. Just take out it. So like this, it is going to get it. So if you want to provide the header for that, in the bottom example I'm having, so header we can keep inside the variable. That is what I'm saying here. Create a data frame with RDD by using or by providing the header in the variable. So let's say columns I'm taking. Customer ID, customer name. Now I'm just going to take the columns here. Now if I execute it, you can have the header. So what is the purpose of this? Now you tell me. If you wanted to create a data frame by using local object, or if you wanted to create a data frame with RDD, then we are going to use the function called spark.create data frame. Spark.create data frame function, we are going to use it. Okay. And this is one of the options. There is a one more option that I'm going to take you through how we can create a data frame. Create a data frame by reading data from employee.txt file. While reading the data from the file, I wanted to create a data frame. So you have to keep this file, employee.csv file, and then we need to read it. We have a mounting, so you can use that mounting ADLS slash landing. I guess we have a landing. It is connected with the landing. Inside the landing, you can have a source directory. Inside source, I wanted to keep this employee.csv. And then I wanted to read from there. So in order to read it, how you're going to read, I'm just going to show you. First, let me set up the source. Yeah, I already having employee.txt file. That is fine. Yeah, so let's read the data from here. If I open this file, I have a data for this. Now I wanted to read the data from this particular place. So I wanted to specify spark dot read dot csv. You can give the path of the file. mnt adls landing source inside source employee.txt file. Dot show. You can also use the function called show. Now just observe here. I'm able to read the data. So I already talked about the reader functions, data frame reader functions. So one of the data frame reader function is .csv. My file is .txt file. My file is .txt file. So if you wanted to read the data from the txt file, which is having a comma separator, so I'm just going to use the .csv. Spark.read.csv, it is used to read the data from the CSV file. So that is what I'm just trying to do it. So spark.read.csv, a csv.csv function is from the data frame reader. So by using this, we can get the data frame reader. Inside the data frame reader, you have a function called CSV function. So the CSV function is going to expect to pass the path. That is what I'm just giving the path. So we already mounted the path. So I'm just using the same mounting details here. Okay, so dot show, it is going to present the data here itself. And if you want to keep this result inside the any variable, you can keep it. So I'll come to that. But if we clearly observe one problem here, the header is not available. The header is there in the data. So we have to say my text file, my CSV file is having a header. My text file is having a header that we need to say it. So that how we can do is here header equals to true. You have to say my file is having the header. You have to say my file is having the header. If I execute now, now I can see this. .csv, right? Let me check that one. Here it is. If I hit on it, you can see the options of this. There are too many options. If you're interested, you can go through them, but we don't need to go all of them. You can just have a look few of them. Okay. So I'm just trying to read the data from the CSV file. If you go through this, you cannot understand. But when the situation comes, then you can feel how we can use the different things. Okay. So now if you expand this, you can see here, or not here, somewhere. Yeah, I need to store this inside the variable. Let's say df equals to, now df dot show is going to give the same result. But I can see I can see how columns are there here. What are the columns we're having? We can get to know about it. Now just observe, expand this, not this one, a df, you can see it. So what it is having here, it is having the data frame, spark.sql.dataframe.dataframe is created, that is the df. So that is having string, 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 everything is string here. All the data types are strings. So how we can change the data types as per our requirement, we'll talk about it. So at this point of time, everything is having a string data type. We'll see that how exactly we can handle it. Create a data frame by reading data from employee.parquet file. So this is how we can read the data from the .text file or .csv file. Now I wanted to read the data from Parquet file. So to read the data from the Parquet file, then you need to have a Parquet file in the storage. So I'm not having it. I'm just going to upload that file. Employee.parquet. Hit open. Upload it. Now I'm just going to read the data from here. So what I'll do is I'm just going to give the path first. src path. I'm taking a variable src underscore path, whatever the naming standard you want, you can give it. Inside the double quote, you need to pass the path of the file. mnt slash adls slash landing slash source. Inside source, I have a employee dot parquet. Now spark dot read dot parquet. I'm just going to say src underscore path. Now let's keep this result inside this another variable df equals to and display of df. I hope everyone with me. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just using the function called from the data frame reader. I have a function called Parquet file, a Parquet function to read the data from the Parquet file. So instead of passing the path directly, I'm just keeping inside the variable so that I can use the directly variable. So we already come across at the time of DB utils. We have seen how we can make a dynamic, the source path, target path, how we can define, we have come across it. Now I'm just specifying this path and using spark.read.parquet. So to read the data from the Parquet file. Now let me execute this. You can see the difference between when you read the data from the CSV file and when you read the data from the Parquet file. So when you read data from the CSV file, all the data types of CSV, I mean to say here, you're having every column data type is a string data type, you can see. But when it comes to here, just expand this data frame and see the result. So just see the schema of your data frame. Now data frame is having integer. I did not say that is an integer. There is a string. Employee name is string, that is fine. MJR integer. Hire date is a date. Salary is a decimal. It's all having appropriate data types. I'm not specifying it. It is automatically taking it when it is having a Parquet. So if we load the data into the Parquet file is going to store the data in a column wise. So columnar storage it is. At the same time, internally it is going to maintain a schema also. So internally, the file itself is going to have the schema. We don't need to specify from outside. So because of that reason, we used to store the data in the form of Parquet in the target. So that is one reason. Other main reason is it is going to store the data in the column wise. So columnar storage. So data reading is going to be faster when you have a columnar storage. Okay, so that is one thing. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I'm just taking my tea. I'm sorry, I'm back. So there's two options we have seen. In the same way, you can try from other format files. I'll share those files and you can just try with this formats also. Like JSON file. JSON file anyhow I'm going to take you through. And table also I'll take you through. Format I'll take you. Yeah, I think ORC you can try from your side if you wanted to read the data from the ORC. It's not required. Basically Parquet, JSON and CSV is more enough. Now I wanted to use this format function to read the data from these two files, employee.txt plus as well as employee.parquet file. For both of the files, I wanted to read it. So I'm just giving here src path equals to mnt/adls/landing source, and I have an employee.txt file. Spark.read.format, read.format. So inside that, I'm just going to say CSV as it is a CSV file. Dot load, you have to use it. If you don't use the load when you use the format function, then you cannot load the data into the variable. You cannot read the data from there. So load means it is going to read. Format is used to specify what type of file you are using to read it. Now let's go inside the load. I'm just going to say src path. This entire result, I wanted to keep it in a one variable, df equals to. Now display of df, let's execute it. So df is a action. Sorry, display is a action. Now column names are not coming here, right? So column name is there in the first row. Since it is a CSV file, you have to specify is file having the header or not. You have to specify is file is having header or not. So if you specify, then only this first row will be become as a header. Otherwise, it is not going to have it. Now what I'll do is I'm just going to specify here, comma, not comma, or before load, I'm just going to say dot option. You can use the function called option. So here I'm just going to say header. Header comma true. Header comma true. I'm just taking. Let's execute and see the result. Now you can see you're saying that my file is having the header. So that is what I'm just trying to do here. And the same thing, I wanted to do it for Parquet file also. If I wanted to do the same thing with Parquet file, how you can do it, to just observe. Employee.parquet I have taken, right? Okay. I'm just taking one more part here. So now let me say here employee.parquet. You have to specify Parquet here. So since it is a Parquet, we don't need to use this option. You can just take out it and you can go for load only. Now let's execute it. Now if you observe here, data types are accurate and data also is read. So with format function, we can read the data from the Parquet file. With the format function, we can read the data from the CSV file. And whatever the extensions you're having, you can use the format function. Then next, just observe from here also it is important. While creating the data frame, if you're not having a Parquet file, you have to specify structure. I mean to say structure means a schema. So schema need to specify. How can you provide the schema to the data frame? There are two ways to provide the schema to the data frame. One is basically three ways. And with the infer schema, we can do it. In the interview, they're going to ask, what is the use of infer schema? What is the use of infer schema? And with a schema DDL, we can provide the schema. And with schema struct to type, we can provide the schema. Last two options by us, and the first option is by data frame. Okay, so by data frame itself, we can provide the schema. Okay, let me show you here. Create a data frame by reading data from employee.txt file and provide the schema with infer schema. Just observe, same src path I'm taking. I'm just trying to type to make you little understand. Okay, so I have all this code. I can bring it. I can just copy paste it. So wherever it is required, I'm just going to take surely, but I'm not going to take it from existed notebook. So I'm just trying to type to make you clear. So source path, our source is there inside the mount ADLS. Inside ADLS, I have landing. Inside landing, I have a source. Inside that, I have a employee.txt. And then we have used spark.read.format. So I'm going to use the format function. And you can specify what type of file you're reading. And then I wanted to give the option. Since my file is having the header, I'm just saying header, comma, true. Dot load. Load is src underscore path. Now I'm just going to show you here itself. Let me say, let's keep this entire result into a data frame and use the display function to display it. Display of df. Let's execute it. But if you observe here, this one we already seen. Whatever I have written here, we already come across it. And observe the data types of this data frame. Everything is a string data type. I don't want to take that. I wanted to assign the data types. Assign data types. So we talked about the data types even in the Python also, right? Now what I'll do is, I wanted to assign a data types, but I don't want to assign myself. I wanted to ask a Databricks, can you assign the data types behalf of me? So if you want to ask them, or if you want to make it by data frame itself or by Databricks itself, you need to use the function, you need to use the option called infer schema. You have to use the infer schema. So that infer schema you are going to provide from the option itself. You have to pass this. You have to infer the schema so that it is going to get it. To just observe. I'm just going to say here a dot option infer schema, comma, true. Now, if I execute again, you can see the difference. So employee number is integer, string, employee name is string, job is string. Okay, so this infer schema is going to take the sample data. I mean to say few records from the when it is reading, you're going to get right. So from that particular place, it is going to take some data, and then it is going to assign the data types. So it feels employee number is integer, employee name is string, job is string. MGR also is string is because one of the value is there as a null. So since it is having a null, it is thinking that that is a string. If you have a lowercase characters, then it is going to treat that is a null. Okay, but if you have a capital characters, your Databricks is going to treat this as a string. So because of that reason, here it is not giving as expected. But this MGR is a integer data type. MGR is an integer data type. And salary is a double fine, Commission is also taking a string, and some places we are having a null. So because of that reason, it is taking a string. A department number is also is perfect. Only the problem is with the MGR column and commission column. For these two columns only, I have a problem. That is fine. Infer schema cannot give 100% accurate to you. Whatever it is identified, it is taking it. If you want to change the data type accordingly, you can change it from your side. But the intention of this infer schema is you are demanding your Databricks to assign the data types based on the availability of the data. I'm just giving some note here. It is not a function. It is used to ask your Databricks to assign the data types by its own based on availability of the data. Okay, so that is about the infer schema. Create a data frame by reading data from the employee.txt file and provide the schema with the second option. Now I'm going to talk about the second option here. We have seen infer schema. It provides the schema by reading the data from the data frame reader. So here also I have given the definition. And with the schema DDL. So we can specify, we can use the DDL, schema DDL to define the schema as part of the data frame. It's simple, very easy to do it. Now for same file, I'm just going to do it. First, I'm going to, let's take the same text. Okay, so I don't want to type it again. Spark.read.format, header is there. But this time I'm not going to use the infer schema. I don't want to go with the infer schema. Let's apply. In the interview, definitely they're going to ask you what is the use of infer schema. Now, if you observe, all the data types are string data types, and I have come across infer schema, you're just feeling that it is not working as expected for your requirement. Then other option is you can specify the schema outside with the schema DDL. Okay, so I'm just going to say emp underscore schema equals to, inside the double quote, you have to give all these things. Employee number of type is integer, ename of type string. It's not a varchar. When it comes to the Databricks, we have to follow the MySQL standard. MySQL data types, whatever you're having, the same thing, you can follow it. And job is also is a string data type. MGR of type is integer, and hire date of type date, salary of type double, commission of type double, and department number of type integer. So this is how we need to define the schema. Is anyone having any question with this one? How we can define the schema? Now, you have to use this schema. In order to use this particular schema, whatever we have defined here, a data frame reader is having a function called data frame reader is having a function called schema. Inside the schema, you have to pass it. So data frame reader, you are going to get it with the spark.read, right? So data frame reader function is the format function. Data frame reader function is an option, and data frame reader is also having a function called load. In the same way, we have a schema also. So before loading, I'm just going to take the schema here. A schema emp underscore schema dot load. Now this time I'm giving my own schema. I'm just specifying my own schema. Now let's execute it. This kind of problem you're going to get only when you read the data from CSV file. And of course JSON file also. Now you can see if I expand it, you're having the data types as expected. You have specified the data types outside. Okay. So this is about a schema. Schema is just to provide the schema from outside, which means we are providing the schema from our side. So that is the data frame reader dot a schema function. So this is also is important. They will ask in the interview. Now there is a one more option is also there, because this will work only if it is a Databricks. This works only with Databricks if I'm correct. But if you go with the Apache Spark, then how you can define? Okay, so some people, if that option, if they're not using, if it is a defined a little earlier, so they may have a different approach also. So there is a function called struct to type. So by using the struct to type also, we can define the schema. Okay, so create a data frame by reading data from same employee.txt file and provide the schema with the struct to type. So struct to type is a function or is a class which is available inside this types module. Inside the types module, we are having it. You have to take this. Even if you don't remember, because basically we cannot remember everything at the time of working. But in the interview point of view, you don't need to give the 100% syntax. You have to say, we can define the schema by using the DDL, I mean the schema DDL, or you can also use the struct type to define the schema. After defining the schema, that schema we can invoke as part of data frame creation. So you have to give the explanation. But at the time of working, if you don't remember this syntax, you can use the Google and you can use the ChatGPT. You can use whatever you wanted to do, use it. If they are allowing ChatGPT, you can also use the ChatGPT. Okay, so it is used to provide a schema from outside, and we can control it. Even nulls also we can control it here. Let's say I'm just going to say emp underscore schema equals to. First, you need to import it from PySpark dot SQL dot types dot struct to type. Import struct to type. So this one you have to take it. So struct type is available inside the types module. You have to import it. And then I'm just going to say, for better typing, I'm just taking another command. So struct to type, so that you can get the intelligence. Struct to type dot forget that naming standard. I just cross verified. So struct to type emp underscore schema equals to struct to type within the list you have to provide struct to field. Where is that? So let's provide the struct to field name, comma, struct to type integer type. Let's see, will it execute? Struct to field. Okay, so struct to type only we imported, right? So struct to field also you need to import. Let's execute it. And struct to type also. Now let me rewrite again. So once you import it, because of that reason, I'm not getting that IntelliSense. Now you can see struct to field. So I just wanted to say employee number. Then struct type integer. Let's try now. I'll do one thing. Instead of taking one by one, I'm just taking all types from here. Now integer type. Struct to field is not a triple object. Okay. This entire thing we have to keep inside the list. Struct to field, employee number, comma, integer data type. Yeah. So this is how we need to define. Okay, so struct type, and inside the struct type, we need to have a iterable object, that is a list. Inside the list, we need to have a column names. So once you define one, then you can define others. Employee name, this is a string type. And then we have a job. Job of type is string data type. Let me take a copy all of them. Employee name, job, and then MGR, hire date, salary, commission, and department. So here I'm just going to give the integer data type for department number also. And MGR also I'm just giving integer data type. And job is a string data type. Salary is fine. And salary is going to be, this one is going to be date data type. So date type. And this one is a double type. And this is also is a double type. So let's execute this schema. Now, once you have a schema, you can take this entire. Now you can just execute it, but the schema same to same. So to just differentiate, I'm just going to say one here. Let's keep the one. Now let's execute it. This is not required, this line. Of course, it is not going to take from here. We'll just re-execute. Now you can see the schema here as expected. So if you're reading data from the CSV file, then you can provide the schema with the structure type. And all these types, you can just import it once at all of them by keeping the star, so that we don't need to worry about the structure field or the data type function, something like that. Okay. Okay then. So I'm stopping here. Any question before stopping?
Sir, one question. Can
Mm-hmm.
you go up, sir, like for the three different types? Here, so here infra schema is there, right, sir? So I've used infra schema
Mm-hmm.
for the database to give me the data types. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, if I want to change one data type, like only for specific column. So for that, okay, like do we need to use DDL and do we need to add that into the like to the read like to the schema? I mean to the Spark function like options.
We cannot change the schema here.
Okay, if we use infer schema, we cannot change the schema.
We cannot change and we cannot do anything.
Okay,
We can just take it.
okay. So it's better to use the other two options, maybe better than infer schema in that
Yes,
case.
yes, yes. But like you can use the rest of them.
Okay.
So better use is rest of them, because this will not give 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so actually in the same code, you called option object two times, right? I think option header true
Yeah,
and
yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah, right.
Is it required or not
You
required?
can have a options also. There is only one that we can use options.
Option enter schema and header true. That is fine, right? No need
Yes,
to declare that
yes.
header.
Somewhere, let me show you here.
Yeah.
df1. So now I'm just going to say options. When you go for options, you have to specify something like this. Let's try the syntax. I forgot. df1.show. Some syntax, I missed it. Key value. Option is that one. Somewhere options. Yeah. I have to say header. Equals document code. Now let's execute it. It will work.
Sir, and there is any much difference between display and show? Like both are similar?
Now display is going to show grid wise and so a slight difference you can feel.
Yeah, I can see like both are showing as one
Yeah,
is showing as table and
yeah. One is going to show in a slight difference you can feel. But so we are going to use frequently while doing the development. Of course, display also you can use it, but you have to store, you have to keep that inside the one variable, then you can use it. But going forward, maybe from next session, so I'm going to use more and more on show function when I'm going to start talking about the transformations. So still I'm just showing how we can create a data frame.
uh,
Okay. Okay, then I have another class. I'm just stopping here. We have a session on tomorrow to talk about interview questions.
Okay, sir.
Okay. We'll
Okay,
see you
sir.
on tomorrow. Thank you for joining.